Welcome to Belk, official retail department store of the SEC. With more than 300 department stores in the Southeast, we get your passion. We know it's more than a game, it's a way of life, and part of the modern Southern lifestyle we deliver every day. At Belk, you'll find new looks from the best brands like Michael Kors, Fry, Free People, Under Armour, and more. All at great prices you'll love, the fashion you desire, the value you deserve. That's modern Southern style. Experience it today in store or at belk.com.
I'm Andy Katz from ESPN, along with my co-host Rick Klein of ABC News. On the latest edition of Capital Games, we'll be joined by the new head of USA Basketball, retired General Martin Dempsey. We'll also talk to Penn State's Jimmy Hall on an interesting way to handle the national anthem.
Just won't leave Saban alone.
No matter what you say, I still love you.
Hey, at least we're rational in Alabama, Jack.
Brother Bees, how you doing this day?
This is the Paul Feinbaum Show. Now, Paul Feinbaum.
Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on a gorgeous mid-November day that feels like September, maybe early October. Matter of fact, it was early October when LSU and Florida were supposed to play in Gainesville. But tomorrow they play right behind me in Baton Rouge. Welcome to the 12th college football weekend of the year. And have we ever seen a college football weekend get off to a more dramatic start than what we had last night, not too far from here in Houston? We welcome you to Friday on the Feinbaum Show in Baton Rouge. So much to discuss. And we will get to all of it for you as we finally, 6 weeks later, get to have this long-awaited LSU-Florida game. What's at stake for LSU? Maybe a coach's future. For the other side of it, a shot at getting to the SEC championship game. But if you're a Bobby Petrino fan, you are disappointed. But if you're one of those who remember the last time he went on the road and derailed and wrecked and ended up in a neck brace, well, that's pretty much what happened last night in Houston. Bobby Petrino saying, "We blew it," after the blowout loss at Houston. Meanwhile, remember Jeremy Johnson. A year and a half ago, he was the Heisman favorite, or one of them, for the Auburn Tigers, who were the SEC favorite. A year and a half later, he'll get another chance. Sean White, banged up, will not go tomorrow, but Jeremy Johnson will. So we welcome you to Friday. A lot to talk about, much anticipation here on the Bayou. We talked about it earlier. 6 weeks ago. It was supposed to be played. It will be played tomorrow at noon Central Time right here in Louisiana.
Best sound in the world. The best sound in the world. On 1, 2, 3, we're going to click it. Tiger's going to walk. 1, 2, 3.
We know what they gonna do.
Wake up! Wake up, man! Wake up! Wake up! It's our time, bro. It's our time.
What you gonna do about it tonight? We're in our town tonight. We're in Death Valley.
We about to turn up. It's nothing less.
No surrender. No surrender.
Look at each other. Fight for your brother.
So that's the anticipation. There have been a lot of important LSU-Florida games in recent memory, but this one's certainly significant for both sides, and we'll talk about that. Of course, don't forget, LSU, after finishing the game tomorrow, has a very quick turnaround where they'll head to College Station on Thursday night. There was a report in USA Today by Dan Woken today that talked about a very uncertain future for Kevin Sumlin should he lose that game. We'll get into all of that later on with phone calls at 855-242-7285. But plenty of guests. We'll start with Ron Higgins from NOLA.com. Always a great guest. Brent Musburger. Brent calling the game tomorrow here at Tiger Stadium. Tim Tebow knows about playing in this stadium, as does Marcus Spears, where he's a Hall of Famer and former All-American. Matt Berry, the host of Sports Center and Weekend Sports Center. He'll be with us as well. Matt Stinchcomb covering the Bama game tomorrow. We'll talk to him from Tuscaloosa. And Cole Kublik in Vanderbilt for the Ole Miss game. Booger McFarland as well. Before we get to our guests, let's get some more phone calls on here at 855-242-7285. Let's start in California on a Friday afternoon. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Paul. Thank you for taking my phone call.
Thank you.
Hey, Paul. I got a comment, and it's not no shot at anybody. I know you say anybody can call your show, but it's kind of funny how all of a sudden, like the last couple of weeks, I haven't called for like 2 weeks. I've been listening every day, of course, to your show, Paul. But all of a sudden, a lot of Ohio State fans call your show since they got number 2 in the college football ranking. And they lost, and they probably won't be conference champs if everything works out. But what do you think of, Ohio State and their chances of making the college football playoff?
Well, Ricky, thank you for the call. I think Ohio State's chances are really good. I mean, what they have to do is win this weekend at Michigan State, a game they lost a year ago in Columbus, if you remember. They're a prohibitive favorite. And then beat Michigan next week in the big shootout. So that's what they have to do. I don't think it's all that complicated to figure out. Appreciate the call. John is up next. John, thank you for the call. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paul. Really enjoy your show.
Appreciate that.
Do you think that Coach O was kind of disrespectful to Les Miles in his opening interview when he said that this is a great day for LSU?
I could read that into it. I mean, I was surprised when Coach O opened his news conference like that, but I think what he was trying to do was show his bosses, and I think he was trying to show the LSU Nation that, hey, I'm in charge now. Whatever happened, happened. I appreciate Coach Miles giving me the opportunity, but there's a new sheriff in town, and I think there has been a new sheriff in town for the last 2 months.
Well, to me, it was kind of like Cassius and Brutus saying this is a great day for Rome, and I just thought it was very disrespectful.
If you want to go back to media, go back to that period of history, I get it. I was a little caught off guard when he did it, but he's been able to back it up, John, and I think that's what matters to the people down here. I appreciate your call very much from Lafayette, Louisiana. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You got it. Abraham is up next. Go right ahead, Abraham.
Hey, Paul. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Had a fun Friday question for you. We all know that Nick Saban, hands down, would have won the election, but since that's already been decided, kind of wondering which cabinet position do you think he would be best at? I think defense would be the obvious answer, but I think if you apply his process, he could clean up the environment too. I'll hang up, listen to your comments.
You know, it's funny, Abraham. I don't know if you're, for those who don't follow the news that closely, President-elect Trump today named Jeff Sessions as his designate for Attorney General. And you ask, well, why does that matter? Well, Jeff Sessions is the junior senator from Alabama. And I've had a number of friends of mine in Alabama circles say, what if the governor nominated Nick Saban for that position? He'll serve out, I think, 4 more years of a Senate term. And by the way, crazier things have happened. I don't think it will happen because the governor of Alabama is a big Alabama fan, and he knows he would make himself even more unpopular by taking Saban away. But a lot of speculation in Alabama tonight about Nick Saban doing something other than being the head football coach. I can assure you that's what he's going to do. We will take a break. 855-242-7285. Ron Higgins, the great writer from Louisiana. He will join us on set. Later on, Tim Tebow, Brent Musburger, a number of guests as we're live here on an 82-degree mid-November day here in Baton Rouge.
The Paul Feinbaum Show is presented by Johnsonville, a family-owned company that does things their own way, the Johnsonville way, and in part by Dr. Pepper. It's a college football tradition.
Wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends, and I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again.
We're back here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Gorgeous day. Tiger Stadium getting ready for tomorrow, a noon kickoff. Don't know if there have been many noon kickoffs in Tiger Stadium. Don't know if there'll be many more. We're on set here, right by walk-ons. We're a couple of miles from the stadium, and as a result, we have been able to garner one fan, Tyler, and a couple of Regions employees. We're very appreciative. Not the usual crowd of thousands. Ron Higgins from NOLA.com. I mean, I've known you from many different newspapers, but in Alabama, Tennessee, and now in Louisiana. Welcome. Do you get extra by wearing the shirt?
Yeah, that's part of the deal. You know, you got to promote your brand. You know, it's like players talk about now about not promoting the program. You got to promote the brand. It's my brand. So
Ron and I grew up in the newspaper business. I never heard the word brand because I got out of it pretty quickly.
Yeah, you did, but you got out before it. It's all about your brand.
Well, you have quite a brand, Ron. You're known as one of the more outspoken voices. Having said all that, having covered a lot of things in your career, where would this season, not over yet, rank?
Just one of the craziest as far as LSU is concerned, but then you start looking around the league, and 3 or 4 weeks ago, Kevin Sumlin was gold. I mean, gold. That's how stuff flips in this league that quick. It flips that quick. I mean, 2-3 weeks ago, Butch Jones, trouble. Now he has a chance to go to the championship game, which is, I don't know if it's a great thing or not. Become the East Division human sacrifice for Alabama. It's not a good thing, but you're there.
You get to say it, though.
Yeah, you get to say it.
I mean,
so
you lose by 39, you say we got to Atlanta.
Exactly. But don't buy rings, please. Don't buy East Division champion rings. But it's been crazy, especially around here. I mean, one of the craziest I've ever seen around here. I'll say a crazy year that for LSU doesn't involve Dale Brown, who used to make things crazy. But yeah, it's been nuts.
Okay, you mentioned the Sumlin situation. Report in USA Today this morning, Dan Woken, saying someone loses to LSU Thursday night, could be in trouble.
Holy moly! It's like, you used to have all these elimination games for teams for the championship. Now you have elimination games for coaches. Like Gus Malzahn beats Les Miles in an elimination game. He's gone. And so now at the end of the year you got elimination games between Ed Orgeron and interim and Kevin Sumlin. So it's just crazy that, but that's how it is now in college football. I mean, 4 or 5 years is your max. You got to show tangible progress. And Sumlin's fault was he had Manziel's first couple of years when they were up here, and most of the time you want to start down here and build up.
Yeah.
He'd be started here and went down, and that's people look at it and go, wow.
You remember this guy because you may have been in Alabama at the time. Terry Bowden took over at Auburn from Pat Dye. First year, perfect record. They were on probation, but a perfect record. His winning streak carried all the way through the middle, almost to the end of the next season. He like 19 or 20 straight games before he was finally tied, and then lost, and then fell apart and was fired. But I've been in town a couple hours, just came in. I'm hearing a lot of Jimbo and a lot of Ed O. Where is this right now?
I do think it's a two-man race, and I you know what? Ed Orgeron's had like a job interview every week now for 6-7 weeks, and it's passed almost every one of them. Even the Alabama game when they didn't score, still it's a one-possession game with 4 or 5 minutes left, and the way they played, they were prepared. I don't know if any offense is really prepared for Alabama. I'm beginning to think the championship game should be between Alabama's first and second teams to see who gets playing time in the playoffs.
That'd be a good idea.
But Ed's done a great job. The thing Ed has to overcome is pretty simple. He's got to overcome that image from 10 years ago when he was an awful head coach.
He was.
And he'll tell you he was an awful head coach. And I guess the thing I like about Ed is that he's totally honest about where he's been, how he failed, what he's learned, and the players really like that about him. They like his honesty.
Well, let me give you a scenario. Let's say LSU wins tomorrow. They're favored. Wins against A&M. And Joe Oliva brings in Jimbo Fisher the next Monday. How would that go over?
That would be – it wouldn't be open arms, I think, because
the guy you thought would be great, suddenly, LSU may be heading to the Sugar Bowl.
On paper, you look like, well, look at Jimbo. He's won a national championship.
Yeah.
He was here developing quarterbacks and a good name. And then look at Ed, who's kind of came back and made a comeback from where he was. And of course, as Ed likes to say, his accent is understood in Louisiana and no place else. The fans really like his passion about it. That would be tough. It really would. And there's a lot of dynamics in play between Jimbo and Ed. I mean, if somehow they pass on Jimbo or Jimbo don't want to do it, and they get Ed, I think some things Ed has to do is they have to go get an offensive coordinator who wide open. They have to up Dave Aranda's salary. But I think there's some things they can do. They're going to pay Ed a nice salary, but probably not as much as they're going to pay Jimbo, and they got to pay a buyout too. So you got some money to play around with. So you can.
What would you listen? My sense is you cover the team. I don't, but my sense is the team would want Coach O.
They've talked about it.
A lot of fans do, but it's an interesting situation because it seems like that's what they were trying to accomplish by getting rid of Les, get him out of the way so he doesn't go on a run and. Here we are.
Here we are. It's crazy that I knew when they fired Les, Joe Oliva never expected Ed Orgeron to do this, and he's done everything right. Everything right. He's connected with the fans. He's brought former players back in to get involved in the program to do their pregame walk. He's shortened the practices to NFL style, and the players like that. They haven't dynamically change your offense, but the play calling is more diverse, and they show more formations. He knows he can't change everything overnight, but he's been totally honest with the players the whole time, and the players say they're having fun playing football again. And I think Ed has learned how to pick his spots, when to trot out Coach O, who I think is like a separate character now, and when to be Ed Orgeron. And he's done a really good job of that. And all the players say, we're playing for him to get this job. We want him to get this job. Even the veterans who are leaving say, we want to see him get this job. So that's going to be interesting in the end because.
What do you think or believe? Two different things sometimes, considering your newspaper reported that Sirius overture has been made to Jimbo's representative. But, I mean, where do you think that is? Because those things, as we both know, can sound good, but there may not be much to them.
I mean, I think the overture's been made to, Jimmy Sexton. That's his agent. And Jimmy's always.
Does that have an agent?
I don't know if that has an agent or not. I mean, really. Honestly, I don't think, probably represents himself, a
lot of assistants do have agents.
Yeah, a lot of assistants do have agents.
And most of them are Jimmy Sexton clients.
Absolutely. They're all connected in Jimmy Sexton's world. I think Jimmy's like a Game of Thrones. He kind of pulls in one guy, puts in another. I'm sure they've somehow contacted Jimmy to gauge interest, and I'm sure Jimbo's kind of put it on the back burner, trying to get through the season and see what happens at the end. I don't know how Jimbo feels about leaving Florida State. I mean, he's had a nice run there. I mean, and they had a tough year. But I always look at this too. I remember, how long do you stay at a place before you feel like you get stale?
Oh yeah.
And I remember Steve Spurrier telling me one time, I think it's good a coach moves every 10 years. Because you move every 10 years, you move to a new place, and all your old jokes are suddenly new. You're funny again. You're fresh. And I wonder if Jimbo
There's
feels.
only one exception to that.
Who's that?
Nick.
Well, yeah.
He wears out after about 3 years. He overcomes it by a couple of national championships.
Exactly. It's you just redo the process with different words.
Let me ask you about Saban, because you covered Saban. You've been around him a lot. A little bit of distance, but you're still in the same league. You still see him. Nobody should be too surprised, but your view of him today and where does this go for him?
I think he's going to be as good as long as he wants to be. He's always thinking of ways to get better. He's always thinking about the edge, like this latest thing when using pro players. What was great to watch Urban Meyer's reaction when they told him, and he's like, he's doing what? So he's using former pro players in practice? Really? It's like I should do that too. He's always thinking about the edge, and he's never relaxed. And I really think because of that, he's going to be good until he retires, and whenever he wants to retire. Because he knows if he ever starts slipping, he won't be able to stand it.
Well, and slipping at Alabama would be
two losses, 3 losses,
2 games, and not playing for the national championship.
Yeah, and the year that Ohio State did him, it probably killed him.
Oh.
Have Elliott run over you, like that, the lose the way that Alabama beats people. So I think as long as he wants to be there, he'll be winning. And as long as he wins, the rest of the league is chasing him. I just think, I think he's probably the best college football coach in history because of this run he's had. And he started at 2 schools and done it. And he's done it in a place where it's the toughest place in the world to do it every year.
I mean, last year the number was 4 out of 7. I mean, this year I haven't even thought about it yet, but it'd be 5 out of 8. This will be his 10th season.
It's incredible. People want to know how does he do it, but because he's very well organized and he stays a step everybody by always thinking about what can I do better next. And people say, why their freshman play so good? Because he recruits freshmen and he trains them to play, and so when they have to step in, it's no big surprise. He's to me, I've never seen anybody like him. He's just, I can't say, and at first, I guess a lot of media butted heads with Nick because he's so brisk. But once you understand that's the way he is, and that's the way he coaches a football team, and you kind of accept it and you kind of go with it. And he's fine with media, as long as he knows what he understands. That he knows that you know what you're talking about. If you're going there unprepared with Nick, he'll kill you. He will, but he respects you because he knows you're prepared. The media he respects are the ones that's prepared. The ones that ask the stupid questions doesn't have time for. It's not in his world. So you better bring it when you come with Nick, whether you're a player or media or anybody, because don't waste my time. But again, it works for him. That's why he wins.
Ron Higgins, always great to see you.
Always good to be here, and glad you like our 85-degree weather.
Appreciate you bringing all the fans out.
Yeah, this is
Ron Higgins fan club.
But my fan club, 3 people. That's where it works.
Well, two I think are actually paid.
Yeah, I gave him a 20 each.
And Tyler, the Feinbaum fan. Let's all give him a big hand. You got upstaged by a train. Sorry, Tyler.
I'm taking the next train out. I got to go.
Midnight train to Georgia. Thanks, Ron. Great to see you.
Good to
really
be here.
Good stuff. We'll take We're back in Baton Rouge after this. If you're looking for a truck toolbox for your next pickup truck, look no further than Better Built, makers of America's original aluminum truck toolbox. Built with a variety of features for functionality, durability, and aesthetic design. Learn more at lifebetterbuilt.com. Inside the stadium here in Baton Rouge. Welcome back to our show. Glad you're with us. Brent Musburger hoping to join up with us a little bit later on. Tim Tebow should be here in about 45 minutes. His fall instructional league is over. Yesterday was the last day out in Arizona. So what's next for him on that front? Let's continue with more phone calls. And Ron is in Frankfort, Kentucky on this Friday afternoon. Hello, Ron. Good afternoon.
Well, Paul, I said a short prayer for good weather for you down there because I know you like warm weather, and it looks like you got a warm weather day.
Yeah, I don't think I could have found a warmer place in the South than this.
Yeah. What I was really disappointed in the Louisville game, Paul, and I haven't read the Courier yet. What happened? Did Houston just outcoach them in that game?
Yeah, well, I tell you, a lot of things happened. The Louisville offensive line was a total disaster. So Lamar Jackson did not have really anywhere to go, and when he did, they found him. And I think there was a complete and total lack of focus, Ron. And I think some of the players alluded to it afterwards. It seemed like they got too hung up on all the noise, and when they needed to perform, they weren't. And listen, it's easy to blame people, but ultimately the head coach is responsible for getting his staff and his team ready to play, and they didn't look like they were ready.
Well, that's what Petrino said. He said, I failed, and maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Well, I think you have to say that, but
go ahead.
The only thing I would say, Ron, in addition to that is, it was such a lost opportunity for Louisville. I'm not saying they would have gotten in the playoffs, but they were on the cusp of a great season, a big-time bowl game. They may still get something, and I still believe Lamar Jackson is the leader in the clubhouse for the Heisman, only because there's nobody that has emerged yet. That could still happen, but, man, you talk about blowing a reputation. They did it last night in Houston.
I agree 100% on that. And lastly, and this is an aside, you need not take much time with this, Paul. Can you look back over your career and cite one major disappointment that eventually turned out to be a great blessing to you professionally?
Yes, and it's interesting. I did a podcast this week, which I don't often do, but it was about an hour long with Richard Deitch of Sports Illustrated, who's one of the leading sports media columnists in the country. And he was talking about finding a national stage late in my life, and most people would perhaps say to me, was it disappointing that you didn't find this earlier? No. The greatest disappointment in my career was in the newspaper business, because I was headed toward big markets very, very early on, and it's a long story, Ron. But I became embroiled in a major controversy with a lawsuit, actually, that was my newspaper was dealing with, and it cost me some major jobs. And I thought my career was over in my late 20s, which just goes to show young people when disappointments occurred, don't give up. And I really thought I would never quite reach a level like I had or was aspiring to be, and that was many, many years ago, if you think about it.
Well, I'm glad it worked out. You're a wonderful addition to the profession, Paul. Good luck, and I'm glad you got good weather.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I there's a great song that I heard many years ago by Garth Brooks that goes thank God for unanswered prayers. It's not about careers. It's about a high school love. But you never really know. And I'm not using this pulpit here to sermonize, but it reminded me of things that happen and how things can bad luck on one avenue can open the door for something else. Speaking of that, Jim is up next in Tuscaloosa. How are you, Jim?
Yeah, well, speaking of opening doors for something else, you are the most wild and a crazy guy, not Steve Martin. Boy, what a maniac opening. Listen, hey, Paul, look, you got everybody hanging on threads here in Alabama, but now, for a guy that didn't even know there was an election a week ago, and now you're going to anoint him, this moron. Well, I better watch. Well, anyway, the governor is going to appoint Nick Saban as a senator to replace Jeff Sessions, and who? I guess you and I are going to be head coaches appointed to Alabama. Is that about it?
Yeah, now, Jim, I don't think the governor of Alabama has jurisdiction over who the coach is, although he is the de facto head of the board of trustees, I believe. But I only brought that up as an aside. I brought that up because a friend of mine in Washington floated that trial balloon with me earlier. By the way, the friend is also an Auburn fan.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to tell you something. That might not be a friend of yours, whether you know it or not.
Probably not.
I have never heard anything so wild and crazy.
Well, Jim, are you on the short list to be Senator Sessions' replacement?
Look, I already told you, I am secret aside advisor along with Newt Gingrich. That's what I am.
Hey, you know something I heard, and I forgot. Think about this for a second, Jim. I mean, Jeff Sessions, I've talked Alabama football with him many, many times on this show. You've heard the story about Laura Ingraham, have you not, being in line to be the press secretary?
Absolutely, I've heard that.
Do you know who Laura's favorite college football team is?
Yeah, I guess it's Alabama, isn't it?
It is. So I mean, you talk about an Alabama-dominated administration.
Yeah. How about this for a laugh, Paul? This ought to help you. I told you to try to get me unblocked from Smoking Joe from New York, Joe Scarborough, who has a wonderful brother, contrary to Joe. But Joe's got me blocked, and I really don't care. Well, the other political hack that has me blocked for the last 2 years? Laura Ingram's got me blocked.
Laura Ingraham has blocked Jim from. I mean, she's about to become the White House press secretary, and she's blocking you on Twitter. What is it? Are we living in a
she doesn't know what I'm about
parallel universe?
And she doesn't know what I'm about to become in the Trump team deal.
She's about to find out, Jim.
Well, anyway, it's interesting stuff, Paul. But how much? I'd say Nick Saban's got as much chance of becoming or taking the job as a senator as Shaw from Reeltown has, making any sense at all on this show.
Actually, I think Charles has a better shot.
He does.
Hey,
he
thanks.
does. All right, Paul. See you later. Thank you.
Talk soon. We'll take a short break. We're live in Baton Rouge, where it's pretty warm out here, and we're actually we've tripled our audience since we began the show. I think we're up to about 6 or 7 fans, but Tyler is still here. Tyler was here an hour before the show, and he's likely to be here an hour after the show. We'll be right back.
So may I introduce
Welcome back to the Paul Feinbaum Show, presented by Johnsonville.
Welcome back. We're live in Baton Rouge, where the Ed Orgeron fan club continues to grow outside our set here. We started with one fan. We're up to, we're getting close to double digits. Good to have you on board. 855-242-7285. That is our number. And then let's check in with Bobby in Birmingham.
Hey, how you doing today, buddy?
Hey, Bobby.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying, Paul.
Yeah.
I said, I'm just saying. That's what I told you yesterday about that game last night.
You warned me about Bobby
I'm just
P.
saying.
You warned me about Master P.
I told you Houston. Right, I told you Houston gonna beat them last night.
You did,
and then
Bobby.
Louisville Holland, we want Bama. Can you imagine if they had played Bama, whatever state that game would have been played in?
We'll see. They lost by 26 to Houston.
Yeah, they had to call out the National Guard to get us off that ass. Hey, Paul.
Hey, they're saying. By the way, Bobby. Up in Ohio, the Ohio State fans are now starting to scream, "We want Bama."
Well, they can get some too. It's out there. And I heard a Tennessee fan call in yesterday, and he said several Bama fans that called in say we arrogant. Then he turned right around and said, well, I hope LSU beat Florida. That's the only way they can get to Atlanta. What do you think about that, Paul?
You know, Bobby, I'm not overly concerned. I think Bama's good, but I felt like Bama would win the national championship back in August, and then nothing has really changed here in almost late November.
Right. Well, I'm gonna say this, then I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
The word in the street is Bush Jones loses Missouri. They're going to take the keys to his office. I'll holler at you later, buddy.
Okay. Let's continue. Andy in Ohio is up next. What do you say, Andy?
Hey, Paul, I'm not so sure our offensive line wants Bama. Got to see if that can come together. But, hey, up here in Ohio, just wanted to apologize to everybody for 8 years of Obama, but we were happy to help deliver the Donald on this one. It was like, you know, I've been kind of hypnotized by politics for, most of the season. And I hop back on here. It's Bizarro World on here. You got a newspaper journalist on your program talking about what great respect Nick Saban has for the media. I mean, did that really happen? Are we in the Twilight Zone? What's going on? And I'm so sorry to hear that Jim from Tuscaloosa has come back on the program. What position is he going to fill in the Trump administration? I mean, do they have like a chief blowhard? Shouldn't you have some experience doing something other than, sitting around pontificating about your greatness? We've already had enough of that. But, no, Paul, it's the end of the year. The Buckeyes are pulling strong, and we got Tom Herman doing us more favors across the board. Gave Oklahoma that second loss by picking them up on the front end, and then went ahead and got rid of that pesky Cardinal for us there on the back end with that Papa John Stadium there hanging out on the edge of the highway there.
So Andy, all ready for that meeting with Jim Harbaugh next Saturday?
Paul, you know how bad Michigan is going to get destroyed next Saturday. I mean, the only thing that I'm worried about with the Michigan State game is we're just going to be all so eager about just dismembering Michigan. It is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be the stand-up. It's going to be the blowout. It's going to be the one that puts us over and puts us over the top in the playoffs. You know, the only disappointment that we got this year is that JT is not a likely Heisman candidate, but that's a good thing. It gives him something to shoot for when he comes back next year. But I have zero concern regarding the Michigan skunk weasels coming down to the Horseshoe next week. I mean, look what we did to them in their own giant toilet bowl last year. So, no concern whatsoever. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Andy. Always great to hear from Ohio. 3 more to go.
Welcome to Belk, official retail department store of the SEC. With more than 300 department stores in the Southeast, we get your fashion. We know it's more than a game, it's a way of life. And part of the modern Southern lifestyle we deliver every day. At Belk, you'll find new looks from the best brands like Michael Kors, Fry, Free People, Under Armour, and more. All at great prices you'll love. The fashion you desire, the value you deserve. That's modern Southern style. Experience it today in store or at Belk.com.
On the latest episode of the Bill Barnwell Show, I talked to Mina Kimes of ESPN Magazine about the Seahawks, about the Bears, about Alshon Jeffrey's suspension, and Week 11 in the NFL season. Check out that show on iTunes or by going to the ESPN app on your phone.
In order for the business to keep growing, you have to keep investing.
The Regions Next Step project is helping real customers like Eddie confidently take their next step in life and in business.
It took a lot of years and just working hard, but Regions never gave up on us.
Ready to take your next step? Visit regions.com/nextstep.
We're in a great place and we're ready to take our next step.
Regions, official bank of the SEC, member FDIC, paid appearance by an actual Regions customer telling his real story.